We met 5 years ago and got married 2 years in. We were inseparable. I knew she was the one when she never got tired of my slightly autistic and ADHD butt. She's incredible. Gorgeous, smart, funny, she's everything I've ever looked for in a partner. But I'm starting to think maybe I trapped her. We had an argument after our Valentine's dinner a few days ago, and she said some really mean things to me. Made fun of my weight gain for one. Things haven't been the same since. She gave me a very generic, "I'm sorry for last night," the next morning. But that was it. I didn't even acknowledge it. I haven't been able to make eye contact with her. I'm not interested in talking to her, and generally, I have been avoiding her. Yesterday, she had the day off and went to a party with friends. I wasn't invited. She never told me about it. She didn't want me there. She didn't text me or call me all day from 10 a.m. until 2 a.m. when she got dropped off without her car. She passed out on the couch. I let my emotions get the best of me, and I opened the Photos app on her phone just to see how her day and night had gone. I didn't find anything out of the ordinary, and honestly, it looked like she had a good time. I opened her text app and saw an exchange with her best friend where she admitted that she said some really mean shoot to me the other night. Her friend responded that, "You said what you needed to say." You know, being the good friend. My wife then replied, "I really don't like who I am in this relationship." Her browser window was also open, and there was a page to an article called "How to Tell If You're Unhappy in a Relationship." I treat this woman like a queen. All 5 love languages every day. Now, it's obvious to anyone reading this, I have trust issues. I am in therapy, working on them. My wife knows this. I was cheated on in several previous relationships, going all the way back to my first girlfriend in high school. Since then, I've had a really hard time trusting people, especially relationship partners. My wife and I spent the last 6 months in couples counseling. I stopped paying for sessions because my wife wouldn't do the homework. A few months ago, she went to a wedding and flirted and made out with one of the groomsmen while drunk and then confessed the next morning. I know she resents me. She doesn't communicate well. She has a bit of an alcohol problem. I'm dealing with some drug medication issues too, but I think she feels like I've caged her into this marriage, and she feels disappointed in what I have to offer. I have 2 kids from a previous marriage. They're both teens, and she loves them to death. I guess I need to make some changes, or it sounds like we may be done. Any insight or wisdom would be helpful. Thanks. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Reading between the lines of trust issues, and I treat this woman like a queen. All 5 love languages every day. I think she finds you smothering. I think you're full on to 100 all the time because you think that if you're not, she'll cheat or leave you. The intensity can be too much. I think this particular relationship is busted. She has some bad behavior of her own to account for, and clearly her heart isn't still in it, but just something to think about for your next partner. Love languages are good, but make sure to treat her like a normal person too. Comment 2. Wait, so she cheated on you a few months ago. You're both dealing with drug alcohol usage, both have poor communication styles, went to therapy, and she mocks your appearance, etc. This doesn't sound healthy. Not sure it's ever been healthy? I don't really have any advice on how to fix this relationship. Maybe sit down and have a frank conversation about what you both want from this relationship. If you even want the relationship, and go from there. You both need to be on the same page of fixing the relationship to actually fix it, and I'm not sure she is. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around after my last post. It's been a tense week, and I've got some updates that I think you'll find pretty interesting. So, after I found those texts on my wife's phone, I was a mess. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, like when she made out with that groomsman a few months back. That hit me hard, but we tried to work through it. I thought we were getting somewhere, but I guess old habits die hard. Anyway, I decided to give her some space and stayed at my buddy's place for a couple of days. I needed to clear my head. During that time, I couldn't help but think about the early days when we first met. She was so full of life, always dragging me to new adventures, and I loved it. I loved her spontaneity, even though my ADHD made it hard to keep up sometimes. She never seemed to mind, though. But things changed after we got married. I guess the reality of being with someone like me, with my quirks and my kids from a previous marriage, started to weigh on her. She began going out more, sometimes not coming home until the early hours. I tried to be understanding, remembering how she used to light up a room with her laughter and how she'd turn to me with that look that said I was her person. This past week, I got a text from her while I was at my friend's place. She said we needed to talk. My heart sank. I knew this was it. I went home and we sat down at the kitchen table, the same one where we'd shared countless meals and dreams for the future. She told me she was feeling trapped, that she loved me, but didn't like who she was with me. It was a punch to the gut. I listened, really listened, and I could see the pain in her eyes. It was the same pain I saw when she talked about her own parents' messy divorce when she was a teenager. She'd always been afraid of ending up in a loveless marriage like theirs. I told her about my therapy, about how I was trying to work on my trust issues that stemmed from being cheated on in high school. She knew about my past, how those experiences had left scars. She held my hand, and for a moment, I thought we might be able to get through this. But then, she dropped the bombshell. She confessed that she'd been feeling this way for a while and that she'd kissed someone else at the party she went to. I felt like I was reliving the moment with the groomsmen all over again. She was crying, and I was just numb. We talked for hours, going in circles. It was like we were both trying to find a way out without actually saying it. I thought about our couples counseling, how she wouldn't do the homework. It was like she wanted it to fail. The next day, she went to work, and I was alone in the house. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. I remembered how she used to encourage me to be healthier, to join her on runs, but I'd always find an excuse. I realized I'd let myself go, not just physically, but emotionally too. I decided to take action. I started going to the gym, focusing on getting back to the person I was when we met. I wanted to show her that I could change, that I wasn't the anchor holding her back. When she came home that night, she found me cooking dinner, something I hadn't done in a long time. She was surprised, and for a brief moment, things felt normal. We ate, talked about our days, and even laughed a little. It was like a glimpse of the past. But then, as we were cleaning up, she got a text. I saw her face change, and I knew. She didn't have to say anything. I asked her if it was him, the guy from the party, and she nodded. I felt the anger rising, but I kept it in check. I remembered my therapy sessions, the techniques I'd learned to manage my emotions. I told her I wasn't going to be the one to hold her back anymore. If she needed to be free, then that's what she should have. She started crying, saying she didn't know what she wanted. But I did. I wanted her to be happy, even if it wasn't with me. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I packed a bag and told her I'd stay with my friend for a while. I needed to give her the space to figure things out, and I needed to work on myself. It's been a week since I left. I've been hitting the gym every day, and I'm starting to feel like my old self again. My kids have been supportive, telling me they just want me to be happy. Wife cheats on me with coworker Josh, and I kick her out, but she comes back saying she ended it with him. But then his ex calls me and says my wife planned a future with Josh. The funny part before the rest, I had her read the original post to show how it looked to everyone. Her palms started to get so sweaty it left a stain on the laptop. She didn't have a lot to say about it, except, wow, this is a lot to process. We set up a counseling appointment to work on things. The working solution we had was that she would tell me when they texted each other. My wife was following through with that, and I thanked her every time. I also told her if she slipped up in some way to just acknowledge it, not delete messages and whatnot. The counseling session was lame. The counselor seemed like he was on autopilot and just wanted to get to the Gottman books. We set up a couple of future appointments. She had a work trip coming up. We went skiing the day before, and I took her to the airport and kissed her goodbye. I texted her from time to time, and she would send pictures of the things she was seeing, but seemed a little unresponsive. I figured she was just busy with everything going on. She never called me or our daughter. She would say she was taking a bath at the end of the night, I picked her up from the airport and brought her home, and she seemed distant. I had to ask for a hug. She went skiing the next day. Things felt weird, and I checked the phone bill, and lo and behold, she called Josh for an hour one night, and then he called her 2 other nights for a couple of hours. I checked her Facebook. The messages from her friends were talking about how he tried to kiss her at some point, but they hadn't cut him out of the group in any way. Also, one of her friends told her to delete messages and call logs before coming home, as I might check them. These are all garbage people. I put her stuff in garbage bags and told her off when she got home. I told her she was a cheater and the guy was a cheater and they deserved each other. She didn't have much to say because she couldn't even come up with a bad lie. Filled her car up and left. I'm astounded at how morally bankrupt she is, and her friends are as well. I've met these people. They know who I am and that I'm a decent guy. I just can't imagine encouraging someone to hide immoral behavior. I asked her from the start of this mess if she wanted to exit the relationship, and she said she wanted to work things out. She saw how much pain it was causing me, and she kept doing it. You think you know people. I believe she was playing me and the guy off each other, hinting to him that our relationship wasn't solid, and maybe someday they could be a couple while also trying to reconcile with me. She's a narcissist, and this was feeding her ego. The short term sucks because I'm stressed and it's hurting my ability to sleep. Sorry if some of this doesn't make sense. I know I'll be better in the long run, but this sucks right now. It's pretty lame that she gets to shack up with this dirtbag, and I probably won't feel like dating for years. Anyway, once a cheater, always a cheater. Trust your gut. I should have told her to frick off a long time ago. Hope I don't get destroyed in the divorce. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Get a lawyer and start protecting yourself now. File as soon as possible so you're not blindsided. Contact should have been cut completely and not just telling you when she did. None. Zip. 0. And she just left her child? Don't worry about them shacking up. They won't last. She doesn't even know him. She only knows the version of him that wants to get in her pants. She doesn't know the day in and day out of the marriage version because he hasn't shown that. She will realize how badly she's messed up, but it will be too late. Comment 2. I just don't understand how people do this. Is it worthy to destroy your whole relationship just for a fling with a coworker? And her friends sound like high schoolers. I have 2 friends. We grew up together. When one is wrong, we remind them and criticize them about it. We don't cuddle or encourage unethical behaviors. I would never support a cheating friend. I met one like that at some point. I cut her off directly. They can be very toxic. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since my last post, and boy do I have an update for you all. Buckle up because this ride has taken some unexpected turns. After I kicked my wife out, I was a mess. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and my work suffered. I was living in a daze, just going through the motions. Our daughter kept asking for her mom, and it broke my heart every time. I had to tell her that mommy was on a long work trip, but kids are smart, and she knew something was up. Then, 2 days ago, my wife showed up at the door. She was crying, a complete wreck. She begged to talk, so I let her in, for the sake of closure if nothing else. She told me that after I found out about the calls, she had a huge fight with Josh. Turns out, he had a girlfriend who knew nothing about my wife. When she found out, she dumped him on the spot. My wife was now alone. Josh was out of the picture, and she was full of apologies. She said she realized she had made the biggest mistake of her life and that she missed me and our daughter terribly. She wanted to try again, to go to counseling, to do whatever it took. I was torn. Part of me hated her for what she did, but another part remembered the good times. We had been high school sweethearts after all. We had history, a daughter, a life together. It wasn't easy to just throw that all away. I agreed to think about it, but I needed space. She left, and I spent the night looking at old photos and remembering the love we once had. It was a night of soul-searching, and by morning, I had made a decision. I called her and said we could try counseling again, but this time with a different counselor, and that we would take it slow. No promises, just an attempt. She agreed, grateful for the chance. The next counseling session was different. The new counselor was engaged, asking tough questions, and making us really talk. It was hard, but it felt like progress. My wife was open about everything, even the ugly parts. She admitted that she had been seeking validation from Josh because she felt neglected at home. It wasn't an excuse, but it was a reason, and it made me think about my own role in our problems. We left the session feeling drained but hopeful. We decided to take our daughter out for ice cream, trying to find some normalcy in the chaos. It was nice seeing them together, laughing. It gave me a glimpse of what we could be again. But then, the next day, I got a call from Josh's now ex-girlfriend. She was furious, accusing my wife and me of ruining her life. She said Josh had told her that my wife was leaving me for him and that they had planned a life together. I was stunned. My wife had told me she was done with him, but now I didn't know what to believe. I confronted my wife and she broke down. She admitted that she had considered being with Josh, but swore that she had ended it when she realized her mistake. She said she wanted to be with me, that she loved me. I wanted to believe her, but trust is a fragile thing. Now I'm here, trying to piece together a marriage with someone who has lied to me, while also dealing with the fallout of her affair. It's a mess, and I'm still not sure if I'm doing the right thing by giving her a second chance. Our daughter is happy to have her mom back, and I can't deny the warmth in my heart when I see them together. But there's a coldness too, a fear that I'm being played for a fool again. I'm taking it one day at a time, trying to rebuild trust, trying to find the love that was lost. It's a bittersweet place to be, full of hope and heartache. I guess only time will tell if we can truly get past this or if the damage is too deep. Fiancé accuses my cousin of faking her miscarriages and seeking attention, but then I confront her. She confesses she told my fiancé about her medical condition, and he admits he's been acting strange around her. Oh boy, I am 30-year-old male, my fiancé is 27-year-old female, my cousin is 30-year-old female. My cousin and I are very close. Our moms are identical twins, so we grew up more like siblings. My cousin is married and has been for like 7-ish years, and they've been trying to have a baby for 6-ish years. They do have a daughter via adoption, but have no biological children. She has miscarried several times, and I know this to be fact because I was the one called to clean up the blood before she made it home so she wouldn't have to see it. She struggles with it a lot, and the mention of anyone being pregnant upsets her. She smiles about it to them, but she normally cries when it's just us talking. I've done my best to be there for her because she is like a sister to me. She miscarried again back in December and ended up having to have several surgeries, hopefully to fix the problem. I know she's been seeing a specialist and is hopeful. However, she didn't say much to me about anything. She didn't call, which was unusual, but I just assumed she didn't want to talk about it at the time. My fiancé and I were talking about miscarriages and fertility stuff because one of her friends had miscarried and my cousin came up. My fiancé laughed and said my cousin has never actually miscarried. She's just making it up for sympathy and trying to get attention. My cousin hates attention and people feeling sorry for her. She says it makes her feel really awkward. Only a few people in the family know about her miscarriages. No one extended knows, just us, my parents, hers, and me, and our grandparents. She has never once tried to get attention. I asked my fiancé why she would say that, and she said my cousin obviously wants my attention. That's why she is always crying to me and no one else. She also said she has confronted her about it. My cousin never told me my fiancé had ever said anything to her about it. My fiancé also said a few other really awful things about my cousin that were creepy, implying we had had an intimacy or emotional relationship. I was absolutely disgusted because, again, she's like my sister. But not only that, we are very related. That's just gross. Anyway, now that I've been thinking about it, I've remembered several odd times that my fiancé has been rude to my cousin and has pulled me away from talking to her at pretty much every family event. This doesn't sit right with me, and I am completely rethinking my relationship. I am not sure if we should have another discussion or if I should just end it because I don't know if I can trust her around my cousin again. My cousin has been hurt enough. She doesn't need someone mocking her or telling her she is lying. I'm not sure what to do here. TLDR, my fiance accused my cousin of lying about miscarriages and confronted her. She also implied we have had a more intimate relationship, which is gross, and that my cousin was attention-seeking specifically towards me. I am not sure if we should have another conversation about it or if I should just move on. This whole thing just doesn't sit right with me. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I have to agree with the consensus. She is in plain English, a heartless witch. It's bad enough to imply you have an inappropriate relationship with your cousin, but to go to her and tell her she is lying about something so traumatic is unacceptable. You need to get rid of her. Then go to your cousin and beg for her forgiveness and tell her you had no idea what she had done. Comment 2. This is absolutely worth breaking up over. It's weird and gross enough that she's jealous of your cousin. It's weird and gross enough that she thinks that your cousin is lying about having miscarriages. It's absolutely hateful and unhinged that she confronted a grieving woman to accuse her of lying about having miscarriages. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a wild week, and I've got some updates that I think you'll find pretty shocking. So, after I posted last time, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with my cousin. I needed to clear the air about what my fiancé had said. When I told her, she was devastated. Not just by the accusations, but because she had actually confided in my fiancé once, thinking she could trust her. Turns out, during one of those surgeries back in December, the doctors discovered a rare condition that was causing her miscarriages. She'd been keeping it to herself because she didn't want to worry anyone until she had more information. But here's where things get really twisted. My cousin admitted that my fiancé had been acting weird around her for months, even before the confrontation. She'd catch my fiancé staring at her with this strange look, and once she even found her going through her purse at a family barbecue. We both realized that my fiancé's behavior was more than just jealousy. It was an obsession. I was floored. I had no idea things had gotten this bad. I remembered how my fiancé would always ask me about my cousin's appointments, her treatments, and how she was coping. I thought she was just being caring, but now it felt like she was gathering information for some other reason. I confronted my fiancé about everything. I asked her why she went through my cousin's purse, why she was so fixated on her. That's when she dropped a bombshell. She told me she had been suspicious that my cousin was faking her condition to keep me close. She thought if she could prove it, I'd see my cousin in a different light and we'd drift apart. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My fiancé had taken it upon herself to play detective in the most twisted way possible. But the real shock came when she admitted that she had been the one to tip off my cousin's specialist about the rare condition. She had read about it online and mentioned it to the doctor, pretending to be concerned. She thought it would expose my cousin as a liar when the test came back negative. Instead, it led to the diagnosis that explained all the miscarriages. The room was spinning. My fiancé had inadvertently helped my cousin, but her intentions were so dark and twisted. I felt sick to my stomach. I realized that this wasn't just about jealousy or insecurity. My fiancé had some deep-seated issues that I couldn't ignore. I thought back to all the times my cousin had been there for me, like when I broke my leg in high school and she practically moved in to help me get around, or when she stood up for me against bullies in middle school. She had always been my rock, and here I was, having to protect her from the person I was supposed to marry. The confrontation with my fiancé turned into a full-blown argument. She tried to justify her actions, saying she did it all for our relationship, but I couldn't see past the betrayal. I told her that trust was the foundation of our relationship, and she had shattered it completely. In the end, I made the decision to break off the engagement. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but I knew it was the right choice. My cousin doesn't need this kind of drama in her life, especially not from someone who's supposed to be family. As for my cousin, she's been focusing on her health and her family. Her daughter, the sweet little girl they adopted, has been a beacon of joy through all of this. My cousin and her husband are considering trying for another child, but for now, they're just grateful for the family they have. It's been a week of tough conversations and even tougher decisions. I'm still processing everything that's happened, but I'm relieved that the truth is out in the open. My cousin and I are closer than ever, and I'm going to do everything I can to support her. As for my now ex-fiancé, she's moved out and we're sorting through the aftermath. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'm hopeful that with time, I'll find someone who respects my family as much as I do. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.